Ladies and gentlemen, returning viewers and subscribers, to any of the 1,707 that watched my last short, please do me a favor and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share this channel. Because on February 27th, I go through a journey that I did not think I would be expecting. I, as well as many other gamers and other people in the entire world, return to the City of the Dead. On February 27th, 2026, we return to Raccoon City on the year known as the 30th anniversary of Resident Evil. We re-enter Raccoon City with a new face with a familiar last name. We return to Raccoon City with Grace Ashcraft, the daughter of one of the survivors of Resident Evil, one of the survivors of Outbreak, and one of the survivors of Raccoon City, Alyssa Ashcraft. Alyssa is very important to the series as you find her documents scattered throughout the city, mainly in Resident Evil 3. But we also return to the City of the Dead with a familiar face, for what could be one of his last appearances in a Resident Evil video game. Leon Kennedy. To me, Leon is the face of the Resident Evil franchise, and without Leon, I do not believe that I would be addicted to the Resident Evil franchise. Let me tell you a little bit of the history with me and Resident Evil. For as long as I can remember, from the age of 3, I watched many of my family play through the Resident Evil franchise. Then, at the age of 3 or 4, I got my very first game system. It was that of the PlayStation 1. And I had this game, and I had this disc, and it said Resident Evil. But it did not say no ordinary Resident Evil, it said Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. And let's just say, as a young child of 3, that game and myself did not get along. Then 2 years later, when I was 5, for the Nintendo GameCube, came a game that changed my world. That game was Resident Evil 4. That was the first Resident Evil game that I played in its entirety and beat it. Then it wasn't until I was 13 or 14 when I finally beat my second Resident Evil ever, which was Resident Evil Director's Cut. From there, I played many other Resident Evil games and never fully finished them. Then eventually I finished Resident Evil 3, replayed 4, beat Resident Evil 0, and then finally played Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil 2 is my favorite Resident Evil game. It introduced Leon. It's where Leon became my favorite Resident Evil character. From Resident Evil 2, I ended up replaying Resident Evil 4, knowing a little bit more about Leon's story. And throughout the time of continuing to play every Resident Evil game that my family has owned, I eventually played Resident Evil 6. And I played Leon's story, and I played Ada's story. And I waited. I waited with anticipated breath as to what the next Resident Evil game was going to be. And a few years later, it was a long time. Let's just say that. They announced Biohazard 7, Resident Evil 7. The game that I believe saved the franchise and brought the horror back. Then I got excited when they announced Resident Evil 8, and I played through Resident Evil 8 ad nauseum. Then shortly after I beat Resident Evil 8, they announced the remake of Resident Evil 4. And I got excited because I had played the remake of 1, I had played the remake of 3, I played, in my opinion, which is the best of the 4 remakes, Resident Evil 2. and I loved the remakes. I loved Resident Evil 4 remake, but in my head I was craving for a new story. What was coming next? And last year at the Game of the Year Awards, they showed Resident Evil 9. Resident Evil Requiem. Not only is Requiem the name of Leon's assault magnum that he hands to Grace, but it is known the definition of Requiem is that of a mass of the dead. Now, apparently the developers have said that Chris Redfield and Ada Wong will not be making an appearance in Resident Evil 9. I think that that is smoke and mirrors, because if this is the end of Leon's story, I do believe that Ada will be a part of it. So please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please share this YouTube channel. Because on February 27th, 2026, myself and all of you and all the gamers in the world play the most anticipated release of this year and what I believe to be Game of the Year. On the 30th anniversary year of Resident Evil, we enter the city of the dead one more